Good evening, everyone. I'm Councillor Maureen Cleaser, the Chairman of Housing and Community Cohesion Policy Advisory Committee, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this meeting. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded for playback on the Council's YouTube channel, where I'm sure our thousands of viewers will enjoy watching it. Will anyone else be recording the proceedings? I ask so that people at the meeting will know this if this will be happening. If the fire alarm sounds during the meeting, please remain seated and members of the Democratic Services team will assess the situation and give further instructions on the evacuation of the building if necessary. If you hear any loud bangs and flashes, it is bonfire night. We won't be under attack by any aliens, zombies or anything else tonight. So, item 1, apologies. Are there any apologies?
Apologies from Andors.
Apologies from Councillor Katka.
And I take it that Councillor Conyard is subbing for Councillor Kadka and Councillor Harper is subbing for Councillor Dawes. Thank you. 3, urgent items. There are no urgent items tonight. And item 4, I see no visiting members. Item 5, are there any disclosures by members or officers? Councillor Harper.
My car's parked in the Medway Street car park at the moment.
Duly noted, and I think at one time or another all of us have parked our cars there, but thank you for that clarification. Are there any disclosures or lobbying? No. Item 7 is to consider whether any item should be taken in private because of possible disclosure of exempt information. I move that all items be taken in public. However, if members wish to discuss the information contained within either the exempt appendix to item 12, part redevelopment of Medway Street Pay and Display Car Park, or item 14, exempt minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of September 2025, it will be necessary to move into closed session due to the likely disclosure of exempt information for the reasons specified on the papers, having applied the public interest test. Is that agreed? Agreed. Item 8 is minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of September. Bearing in mind what I've just said about the exempt minutes, is anyone going to raise anything on the exempt minutes? No? Okay, so I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of September 2025, including the exempt minutes, be approved as a correct record and signed. Is that agreed? Thank you. Item 9 is the forward plan relating to the committee's terms of reference, which are page 6 to 11. Are there any comments on the forward plan, or do Cabinet members wish to make any comments? Right, I move that the forward plan be noted. Is that agreed? Okay. Item 10 is a reference from the council, notice of a motion on community cohesion. The notice of motion is being referred to the committee from full council on Monday the 13th of October 2025. This pack can debate and express its views on the item that could involve supporting the motion, not supporting it, or another action, including rewording the motion. Councillor Harper, you moved this at full council, so would you please introduce it?
Thank you, Chair. I think we had, well, I was going to say we had a debate, we didn't. It was myself and Kimmy, and then it was moved by by the deputy leader straight to the vote. So this hasn't been discussed. I think what I would like to see tonight, and I spoke with Kimmy, is we would like to see this referred on to the cabinet, so the cabinet can consider the three actions we had on the report. I just say a couple of words really, because I was at another pack last night, and one of the items on the risk register, which slightly infringes on this, was a reference to um, being aware of changes in the demographic and the makeup of the community of Maidstone Borough. And I just think that's very pertinent to this. If we think back, I mean, I moved here in 2009, and for a year or two before that, I was working at the University College of Creative Arts up at Oakwood Park. And I can always remember that one of my directors who reported to me, the way they described Maidstone was very much as a town where if you weren't sort of white heterosexual, just keep clear, because it wasn't a town. It was at that stage a very white town. I think what we've seen since then, and I think it's something I celebrate, and I'm sure Simon, now he's moved here as well from London, is that the town is much more multicultural now. We're much more diverse population. I think in the census in 2021, over 11% of the population classify themselves as being from an ethnic minority. And then there's other minority cultures to add to that. So the town is much more diverse. And one of the things I think which we should celebrate as a council is that since 2018, within our arts and cultural policy, which I, as Angela will know, was involved in getting that brought up to the council, then our policies to celebrate cultural diversity and to enable everybody to learn from each other's cultures and to be enriched by it. Unfortunately, what the sort of national argument or national debate at the moment being so dominated by migration and misinformation is leading to a weakening, I think, of people celebrating each other and different types of life. I think, and it's been personified since the summer by the profusion of the flags not being used in a manner where you might use your national flag, like for Remembrance Day, which we've got this weekend, but much more from, my in-laws are from Northern Ireland, so I see it all the time. There's much more tribal, at a tribal level. I mean, that's what the flags are being used for here, to sort of demark territory and turf, and to, well, the impact of it is putting fear and concern on anyone whose skin's not white, who might be seen walking around and people suddenly think they're an immigrant. And the debate at the moment nationally is such that what we're looking at through this, as I say, is to present the true facts around migration, using our social media channels and other routes we can do on that, looking at how we can address concerns of minority cultures in the current environment to try to make sure that that the council does everything to protect and encourage the diverse communities we've got, and to use our arts and cultural policies to help push that further forward. We've got the policies there. We perhaps just need to work with. Oh God, I've forgotten the name of the group. The Mela. What's the name of it? The people who do Mela. Cohesion Plus, sorry, thanks, Maureen. Yeah, to work with people, groups like Cohesion Plus, perhaps to just give a further push to celebrating diverse cultures, because I just think that can give reassurance and that would help address some of the concerns we've got. So really, I won't say any more, but because I'm keen to see what how the cabinet can pick up on the points in the motion, take them forward. Thank you.
Did you want to respond, Councillor Nagy, or do you want me to go straight to Councillor Millam, who's going to second this?
No, you can go straight to questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Millam, did you want to speak, or do you want to reserve your right?
I'll just make two very brief points. I just wanted to say the briefing note that we had at the meeting and we have again today, it is excellent, the results that we had on our survey of how people felt in the feedback that we had from that survey, but that was before we had this raising the flags, raising the colours thing that has promoted hostility and made people feel unsafe in their own homes, their own neighbourhoods. So I don't think we should put too much weight on these figures because I think everyone knows that it's changed, the mood has changed. But what we're asking for essentially is quite simple. We've got these 3 points. The main thing that we can do, and I've talked about this to other councillors, is we just need to promote more. We need to do more either on the social media or in the borough insight or all of these things to try and unite our neighbourhoods, because this division is only harming ourselves, and that's all we're looking for. We're just looking for everyone to come together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Millam. We've had agreement from the mover and the seconder that it be referred to the Cabinet. Before we vote on that, does anyone else want to speak, or are we just happy for it to go to Cabinet? Sorry, you indicating to speak, Councillor Povey? Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'm aware that not many councillors know me very well, and it almost feels as if some of the officers know me more than the councillors, because I've been writing them love letters for 5 years and not getting quite the response I would like. So let me tell you a little bit about me, because I struggle a little bit with this proposition, which is what you might expect with someone representing reform, but hopefully some of you are going to be quite surprised, because some of it I find common ground with, some of it I appreciate. Last year I had a battle with cancer. I had 4 operations last year. I was treated by people from Italy, Croatia, Iraq, Ireland and Pakistan. Those people saved my lives, and the argument, you know, that the NHS would die without immigrants, fully behind that, absolutely behind it. And I think most people that put in the flags up agree with that too, and that's kind of where I struggle. I think this proposal is conflating a number of issues. I think it's a very complex matter. It's very topical. It's one of the most important issues in the country at the moment, depending on who you speak to. So I do agree with some of this. I've worked with many people. I worked in the telecommunications industry, developing software and systems and working internationally. I worked with a lot of Indian people. And actually, some of our laws caused us problems. We had people that had visa problems. They had to go back, and they were working in India on UK time. So, you know, and Indian people were great. We used to celebrate Diwali when I worked in Talk Talk. They used to come in for Diwali and decorate the office, and we had Indian lunch. And so I really appreciate that there are a lot of immigrants in the country making a vast contribution. I've also worked abroad. I worked in Italy, Germany and Switzerland, and as part of that I did culture training. We learnt about Germans and Italians and how to work with them, and I found it really interesting. But I think the key thing is that all those different cultures, they were all kind of appreciative of each other. They respected each other, and fundamentally we weren't that different. You know, our concepts, the way things we believed, the way we acted was slightly different, but there was a lot of common ground. But I think when you talk about immigration, there are elephants in the room. One of those, of course, is a lack of control over immigration. I'm not against immigration. If you want to argue that...
Sorry, Councillor Povey, can I just say that's not something that's relevant to Maidstone Borough Council. Absolutely accept everything else you have said. The motion here is to deal with referring this to Cabinet or not. There is a wider debate to be had on immigration, I absolutely accept, but
Okay.
it's not the purview of this council to have any influence whatsoever on the current immigration crisis.
I'm not sure quite what you want me to talk about then. This is my only opportunity to speak. But my point is that I agree with some of the sentiments. I agree with the basic concept. In terms of talking about the facts behind immigration, my concerns are who's going to choose which facts are presented. I think there's a whole debate to be had around that, and I'm conscious that this could be or could in effect just be an opportunity to present left-wing views only without a balanced factual debate on the subject. So I feel it's conflating a number of issues, and I think it's a wider debate than just presenting people with facts. I challenge people on the far right. When I talk to people on the far right about why they put flags up, I challenge some of their motives, and I feel that that's better coming from people like myself than people that the people doing it will perceive to be on the opposite side of the political spectrum. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Forecast.
Thank you, Chairman. Like Steve, I do agree with parts of the motion, but I won't be supporting it. Councillor Harper, correct me if I'm wrong, but you suggested that the people are flying the flag to intimidate those of ethnic backgrounds, and well,
As said, is the flag is not being flown in what you would normally consider for patriotism. So the flag is often flown at things like jubilees, national events, Remembrance Day, and so on. They appeared across the country in the middle of the summer when there was no events or anything going on, and they appeared at the time when the immigration debate reached, I can't think of the word now, but reached a very high climax, I think, in terms of emotions coming out. And yeah, and that's what that's my concern in terms of the flags. They've discredited the Union Jack. I mean, I've just come back from Northern Ireland and I see the Irish tricolour and the Union Jack being used not to promote cultural cohesion, but to promote cultural fragmentation. And that's what I fear, and it's not just myself, but a lot of people I talk to, is what's been happening with the use of the Union flag since the summer. And so when we do want to use it, like now for Remembrance Day, people don't notice, not notice it because it's been used for the migration debate. That's what I meant.
Thank you for clarifying that for Councillor Forecast. Councillor Forecast, do you want to finish?
Thank you, Paul. I mean, I just think the suggestion or the implication that flying this flag is racist and intimidatory is completely wrong. I mean, it's the most tolerant country in the world. The reason people are waving, it is. And, the flag's no more intimidating than a Palestine flag. Is it? It's not. Well, it's not. So I don't understand why this is coming because people flying the Union Jack. The reason people flying the Union Jack is because hundreds of thousands of people are coming here, undocumented, young men, dangerous from a completely different culture. And that's not okay. So what facts are we present? Like Steve said, what facts are we going to present about immigration? What are we going to present that small boat crossings?
Just from the chair, I believe this motion is to do about working with community cohesion. It's asking this council to do all it can to prevent the facts around current and recent. It's about addressing the concerns of minority cultures in a hostile environment and promote cultural awareness and celebrate diversity. That's it. That's it. That's all this motion is asking for. You may disagree with the briefing and that, but they are what we're actually voting on tonight, which is to refer it to Cabinet.
No.
Cabinet will then make a decision along with the officers. They can choose to do something or nothing with it. And I think that's what we're concentrating on tonight.
Yep. So to that, what facts will we be presenting? And how are you going to promote cultural awareness? The problem is people are not buying into British culture. That's the frustration.
Thank you, Councillor Forecast. Councillor Burke?
Thank you. Um, so we'll go. I'm just thinking about the 3 points that was raised. You know, I think there's so many advertisements, conversations, debates, television programs, newspapers from all sides of the argument that people can get their information around migration, current and recent. I genuinely believe people believe what they wish to believe, and we can promote as much as we like, and it will not change things when the information is already there. So I would rather not accept this to go forward, and I would rather than another motion that doesn't support the people in Maidstone going through this council, I would rather have something that would benefit the people who live here, rather than already doing what is already being done. I see the advertisements about it. I see how we embrace people from different cultures. My wife's from a different culture. I'm a dual national as well at the same time. I speak to my wife and my family members who are from different cultures, different countries. They embrace the flags. I promote to everyone watching this to fly their own flag. I have no issue because of the idiots in the minority that want to take it over. Every country has idiots who fly their own flags and take it over. I've got no interest in sort of cowering down and letting the small-minded individuals win by saying we need to do more. I think we just continue with the policies that this council puts forward and doing their impact assessment, their risk assessments behind it shows that we are doing what we need to do. I just don't think a colourful banner on the social media is going to really help us at this moment in time. So I cannot do it based on that. Address the concerns of minority cultures in a hostile environment. I have no issues with that, to be fair. I think we already have options available to individuals. If you think that putting a little bit of social media to help people to look at that, I just think it's a waste of time because I think we do so good in Kent. You know, I'm from London, very diverse. Come here, it was very different when I come here, but we are moving forward, and I embrace that we are moving forward. I don't think we need to put our energy into it. Cultural awareness, celebrate diversity, we do that. I see the events this council holds. I love the events this council holds. I would go to all of them if I could. I think it's fab. I just don't think it's an initial thing we generally have to do. I genuinely believe it creates division against certain people who are thinking we are trying to stop people that want to put their flag up. If you want to put your flag up, put your flag up. I don't care. I've got no issues with it. You start causing issues with the flag. There are laws, there are regulations that we can use where we need to if people are taking the mick with it. So I just don't want this council wasting their time on certain avenues. I just don't think we need to do at this time. I think you do enough. I'm happy with the things that this council does, and I just don't think we need to do it and focus on the reason for this recommendation coming out because we see flags. If it was based on an increase of violence against certain genders, races, religions, then actually if the data drives that, then I will change my opinion 100%. Got no issues with that because we're assuming that white middle-aged men potentially are hanging these flags. That's an assumption that was completely unfair. I don't assume other races, religions, ethnicities are hanging different types of flags. I just think there's an assumptions in there that it's white British people potentially, and we need to encourage British people because they're not smart enough to do it themselves. I just don't think that's good. I will leave it there. I can't do it based on that, but there's no other reason. If it's data driven, yes, you're doing a good enough job promoting what we need to promote. I just think let's focus our attention on other avenues. Nothing else. Thank you.
Right, I'll take one more, Councillor Oliver, and then we'll go to the vote. Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the data point, like the race and hatred has been growing massively over the last 12, 18 months, like hugely. So if we're basing it on data, like we have to vote it through. That's all I wanted to say.
No, we've had the debate. I'm just going to make one comment before we go to the vote, and people can vote whichever way they like. I come from a military background, 18 years as an army wife, another 15 years as a mother of a serving member of the armed forces and a grandmother. My daughter-in-law currently serves in the Royal Navy. But what I also am from a background is in Liverpool, where there was a very religious divide. And I'm sorry, flags were used to intimidate. You walk along one end of our road and it was tricolours, and you walk along the other end of the road and it was flags. And that was to mark out territory. I think what the motion is trying to do, and it's up to people how they vote, as I say, is just to reinforce everything that Councillor Burke has just said, actually, is the good work that we are doing. And sometimes to stop hatred, you have to be quite loud. So I accept what everyone said, and we will now go to the vote. All those in favour of referring this member to Cabinet? Those against? Very much a very passionate but principled debate. Thank you. The next item, Angela's getting her papers ready just in case, is the Corporate Strategy Year 1 Action Plan update, and that is on pages 18 to 28 with one recommendation on page 19. It will be introduced by Angela Woodhouse, Director of Strategy, Insight and Governance. Or is it being delegated to the Leader of the Council?
It's been delegated upwards.
Right, let's see if you've actually been paying
sideways,
attention then, Councillor Jeffrey, in your meetings.
Or maybe I'm just Angela. No, I'm here because of this item. As most in the room will remember, we presented our Year 1 action plan back in February, March sort of time, alongside the budget. And one of the things I was really keen to do was to bring it back halfway through the year to say how we're getting on. I've been a councillor for 3.5 years. I hadn't seen anything come back like this in terms of the previous administration, and it's something I'm quite used to from my time in public sector. You know, if you've got a big program of work, bring it back. So, hence, I'm offering it to you as an update on the actions that we've taken so far in terms of that first year plan. Two of those actions have been completed, 8 are on track, and 1 has got a slight delay. And the real Angela will answer any questions on it.
So you've done the easy bit and you're asking the director to do the hard bit. I can see Councillor Harper with his hand up. Any questions?
Thank you, Chair. We had this at the climate change and corporate pack last night, and I think I welcomed the report. I think it's useful to know where we're going, because if we saw lots of items, say, sort of off track, it will give us a chance to engage with the Cabinet in a discussion to either, to potentially do a bit of tweaking or work out how we can get stuff back on track. One thing I just would update people on is that actually it's the very last item on page 28. And I know we've said it's on track, but we did agree at the last planning and stronger, healthier communities policy advisory committee, which I chair, to recommend to the Cabinet to agree the tender for the new farmers market in Jubilee Square. I mean, there was a couple of comments we added to, but actually, and I think I don't know if you were there, Maureen, but the idea is that they are hoping as it's to actually kick off the first farmers markets in Jubilee Square, just outside of Town Hall, in the spring of next year. They didn't want to launch it in the winter because it wouldn't be the good time, but in the spring, like coming up into Easter, we actually should get a food market outside the Town Hall, which is something myself and a lot of people, I think virtually everybody here has been wanting to for years. So that's really good. We finally got there. The one I'm slightly disappointed in, I suppose, is the Citizens' Assembly. Obviously, there was a lot of debate on this at the council budget, and I have been converted to supporting the concept. I think most people here, or perhaps not on this committee, would know I was very sceptical before. So I'm just a bit disappointed that the thing's been delayed, because I now would like us to, or the officers, to learn everything on how you do it so that we can do our own in the future without needing the £100,000 budget to do it. So I am disappointed that we've sort of slipped. And given it's such a major issue, and I think it was debated in Parliament only last week, I think, or it might have been this week, that I would really hope that we can get on with this as fast as possible.
Right, who's going to respond? Because I've got two hands up to answer. Angela.
I'll start and then I'll hand over to you. So, yeah, thank you for that question. I think you've hit the nail on the head in terms of how you phrased it. This is brand new for us. We've never delivered anything along this scale, along these lines, including when we were looking at how we plan the work, how much it would cost. Once we really got into it, we realised just how much work this is. It's a huge piece of work. And the topic, the nature of it, is leading to a very different style of deliberative engagement than we were expecting. So we're going to be doing it through a series of events involving different cohorts of people to hopefully then lead to actions that our residents have identified. So yes, it's taking slightly longer, but it means we're doing it properly, I guess, is the reassurance I'd like to give you. And we have been giving regular updates to members, and I'm happy to carry on with that, and I'll make sure Anna sends out some more information. It's going as we expect. We hope to be holding the first events in, I think, January, February. We've got our survey launching this end of this week. So work is progressing, it's on track, and we're certainly trying to pick up as much learning as we can. But it is one of those very specialist areas. But I have to say the organisation we're working with is brilliant, and they're very happy at sharing information, and we're learning alongside them. But yeah, I'm happy to share an update as we get nearer the time. But it is on. It's behind where we want it to be, but it is on track, and we should hopefully it will lead to some really good actions at the end of it.
If I could
Councillor
just,
Jeffrey.
yeah, I mean, we might be being slightly hard on ourselves saying there's a slight delay, because these were what year one things, and we will do it. We are going to be doing it in year one. Yes, I think we're saying a slight delay because we wanted to do it a bit earlier in the year, but actually we're still meeting the deadline. Just one other thing briefly to say, the Cabinet Office are quite interested in the work we're doing. I've had a brief conversation with them. They're working on violence against women and girls, and are now linking with us because they can see this as something quite special across the country that they want to engage with us on.
Thank you, Councillor Jeffrey, and as Councillor and well, I was just going to say, as this came from the female councillors around the broad breadth of experiences of women, and I think it was quite key when it came to this pack originally, that the women were very clear. They wanted a proper job done, and they wanted it to reflect everyone's experience. And what was incredibly sad, that I think every single woman councillor who was present had experienced some sort of, whether it was harassment, whether it was violence, whether it was assault. And it's about getting this job done properly and listening to the women, because perpetrators come in many sizes, shapes, religions, ethnicity. The common denominator is that the victims are women, the survivors are women, and it's about how we empower women to have this narrative, to actually tell their story, but deliver change. And I think that's something we could probably all agree on in this room. Are there any other questions on the report, or are you happy to note the report? Are we agreed it's noted? Thank you very much. So item 12 is the redevelopment of Medway Street Pay and Display Car Park. It is on page 29 to 47 with 5 recommendations, pages 30 to 31. It will be introduced by Councillor Wales, Cabinet Member for Housing and Homelessness, along with Philip Morris, Head of New Business and Developments. The only thing I would say is if you want to ask questions on the yellow papers, you need to let me know and we will have to go into closed session. But at the moment, we will be discussing what's on the white papers, and I will hand over to Councillor Wales to actually do the initial presentation.
Thank you very much, Chair. If I might be so bold as to correct your introduction, it's the part redevelopment, not the redevelopment, which is quite key, I think, but then that's part
Sorry,
of the
part
point.
redevelopments. There'll be a load of councillors having kittens that their parking spec has got on when for meetings.
Just for those who listen that far on the
I
recording and then have an
stand
apoplectic
corrected.
fit. Anyway, so the proposed part redevelopment of Medway Street car park with the potential to deliver 24 homes and a commercial unit, all located within close proximity to the town centre and its amenities. The proposal would include the relocation of a number of current pay and display spaces to an area of underutilised land immediately adjacent to the existing car parking area in order to maintain the same number of spaces during and after the development works. The report covers the part redevelopment of the pay and display car park on the basis of delivering 24 homes at affordable rent. The appendices show, or the appendix rather, shows the anticipated phasing of the works in order to deliver the project, as well as the financial performance and various funding sources. The site does not currently have planning permission for anything other than its current use, so should members be minded to support the project, then the necessary application will be worked up and submitted based on the proposed programme detailed in the report. All units will meet NDSS requirements as well as all relevant building regs and will include greening up measures on the front of Fairmeadow and Medway Street. There will be 7 car parking spaces delivered as part of the scheme to be utilised by the residential and commercial occupants as the location in the town centre is considered as highly sustainable. Homes England grant funding will be applied for prior to the commencement of the development works to assist in the cost of delivering these units as affordable housing. And you'll recall that's the process we applied to each of the developments we've undertaken. This proposed acquisition provides Maidstone Borough Council with a good opportunity to deliver affordable housing on a site currently in its ownership, whilst maintaining the parking revenue, which is quite key, with a view to delivering homes for local people, providing high quality living accommodation in a highly sustainable location. And I'm pleased that we have Phil Morris alongside me to answer any of the technical detail you may wish to ask.
Did you want to come in now, Mr. Morris, or I can take Councillor Harper first? He has a number of questions, I believe.
Thank you, Chair. I think everybody knows I fully support the idea of having at least 1,000 council houses in Maidstone and more if we can do. Obviously, we're up against time now to do it while we're still allowed to spend money. I have considerable concerns on this report, and I was discussing it with some of my other colleagues, and they shared even stronger concerns. If we go back, I'm trying to think now, 4 years possibly, gosh, with time flying, it might be 5 years. So only Councillor Nagy, probably in this room, will remember, Maureen, you might as well. But there was, and I remember coming to a presentation here when we were looking as part of the 1,000 affordable home policy to build accommodation in the King Street car park, just the other end of the town centre from Medway Street. And the proposal there was to have the housing effectively built on a raft so that we wouldn't lose any car parking spaces at all, but we would be able to provide quality housing, I think 2-storey housing. I can't remember the precise number of units, but yeah, it seemed on the face of it quite a good way of doing it where you weren't really impacting on the car park because it was being maintained and the underneath the housing. Now, at that time, that proposal, when it came to a informal briefing of councillors, following that it got dropped. And the reason it got dropped was because of big concern from some people about having two concerns. One, turning a car park into housing, but secondly, about the impact of the housing elsewhere. And I'm just surprised to see a proposal to build in a car park, but not in the way we were looked at in King Street, which would completely preserve the car park. And the other thing, a number of things, what worries me about this report is it refers to a survey carried out 8 years ago in 2017. Well, definitely Councillor Nagy and I would have been the only councillors on this authority at that time, because that's 8 years ago. You know, we've had, I mean, numbers of elections since then and terms, you know, and how that car park was used back in 2017 and how it is used now in 2025 is quite different. It's much more heavily utilised than it would appear to have been back in 2017. I use that car park on a regular basis. If you live in West Maidstone, as I do, and the leader does, the others, and Kimmy does, the other side of the river, it's the first car park if you're driving into town you come to. You come over the gyratory, and it's the first council car park you come to. So it's heavily used by people coming in from that side of town. And there are times during the day and at other periods when you actually can't find a space in that car park because it's absolutely full. And if you're coming in from West Mason and you can't get in a Medway Street car park, you have if you want to park other than in Fremlin Walk car park, you've got quite a long drive to find any other local car parks with the one-way system in the town. So I think Medway Street car park isn't necessarily a sensible location. I think the data we're using is 8 years out of date, which is one thing. The ambition to build these flats, per se, I don't have a problem with. 24 flats, which on the information in paragraph 2.6 could house 91 people, which is what it's proposed to do, is a good idea. But on the other hand, if you're building a block of flats for 91 people based on the housing mix, and you're only providing 7 car parking spaces, and of that housing, 19 units are designed for families because they're either 4-person units or 5-person units. I just think most of us will know very few people who have families who don't have at least one car, whether you live in a town centre or not. And my mother used to live in a town centre flat above a Marks and Spencer's, and she had a car. And all her neighbours had a car, even though they were right in the town centre where they lived. And public transport is not that great in Maidstone. I know we would like it to be better, and the council would work with whoever to do that, but it is with our public transport now. I think to provide family accommodation with no car parking is not going to work. And what we will find if we go ahead with it, with only 7 spaces for the residents, is that in the evenings and at weekends, half, if not all, of the Medway Street car park is going to be used by the people who live in these flats. Because where on earth, where are they going to put their cars if they live in the town centre? There's no, the only places off-street parking in the town centre are council car parks. So that's my real concern on this, that the idea of building a block of flats and providing that number of units is good. I'm just very doubtful that this is the place to do it. Unless it can be answered to me how 14 families are going to live with only half a parking space each. Even if they just had, bubble cars, they still wouldn't get them in.
Showing your age there, Councillor Harper, with bubble cars. Fiat 500, I would say, is probably the smallest. Mr. Morris, would you like to respond to those queries?
Yeah, thank you for that, Chair. Just to clarify, we're not proposing any loss of car parking spaces for this scheme. So we've detailed in the report that we're going to utilise some underused land. So I understand what you're saying initially about that it is well maintained or is well used, and the proposal does maintain the level of car parking that's currently being used. Yes, I pick up your point about the data that was in the WSP report from 2017. I also state in the report later on that this will be updated. It was just to show that we had some historical information, and that was the level of car parking. Obviously, I take your point that 2017, lots changed since then, so we will be updating that information. I'll be undertaking parking studies, and we'll share with the cabinet as we get those.
Are there any other contributions, questions? Everyone's looking tired. Right, so the papers have 5 recommendations and they are on page 30. So I assume that everyone has read the papers, and I've not heard that there's any questions on the yellow papers, so we will go straight to the votes. Do items 1 to 5, are they agreeable? All those in favour? Agreed? Agreed. Thank you. You were quick off the mark, Councillor Harper. Sorry. Right, 1 vote against, the rest agreed. Apologies, Councillor Harper. Right, well, that is the end of the meeting. I now declare this meeting closed. Thank you very much, everyone, for your contributions.